The other day we were talking at home about the two mascots for the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, Tina and Milo. My family is really into figure skating and they actually bought tickets to one of the events over a year ago. They were saying that these mascots are particularly ugly, to which I explained that actually these two ermine figures really ought to be appreciated. I explained all the writing and creative work behind their design, which I had read about somewhere on the internet, and so I explained that, well, obviously there are two mascots because there are two main venues for the games, Milan and Cortina. So one ermine is named Milo as a nod to Milan and the other is named Tina as a nod to Cortina, with Milo representing the symbol of the Paralympics and Tina the symbol of the Olympics. But more importantly, I pointed out a creative detail to them that I found to show a certain sensitivity and intelligence. Namely that the mascot Milo, the ermine symbolizing the Paralympics, is missing a little paw, which the cute Milo cleverly replaces by leaning on his own tail. It's a brilliant detail, one you wouldn't notice unless someone pointed it out, and it's particularly full of positivity and common sense. It inspires a sense of respect and solidarity. In short, it dictates an intelligent and civic-minded approach to the theme of disability. And again, it's a symbolic trick you don't notice at first glance. It has to be pointed out to you. And when you do notice it, you're amazed. The power of the symbol. You should know that the effect of talking about that symbol at home was something I unconsciously experienced for days afterward, and I'm going to tell you about it now. When you grasp the power of a symbol, when you communicate through symbolic language, in a certain sense, a door opens. And it doesn't just close right away, it stays open for a while. A receiving station activates and without us knowing stays on for a bit, picking up signals that are normally invisible or inaudible to us. And so, 2 or 3 days after those conversations we had at home about the mascot Milo, the mascot missing a paw, standing up by leaning on its tail, after 2 or 3 days, the sense of wonder and interest we had shared, well, that little door opened by coming into contact with that symbol was still open, ready to let something through, ready to receive something. And then suddenly a light bulb goes off in my mind, something strikes me out of nowhere while I'm distractedly watching one of the many videos I like to listen to about mysterious topics I don't necessarily believe in, but which fascinate me nonetheless. In some way incomprehensible to me, they draw me in. So as I was saying, while I'm listening to one of these videos on mysterious subjects, the topic of the snake as a symbol comes up, in this case related to UFOs. Now, we know the snake is a leading archetype in both mythology and religion, but listen to this. In this very video, I hear someone talking about the figure of the snake standing up on its own tail. The association with the ermine Milo was immediate and it raised a suspicion. As soon as I got home, I went to scour through the images. Could it be that this fictional character has hidden traits resembling a snake? And the answer was yes. The ermine Milo is drawn using the features of a snake. I'll add that it is intentionally, and I stress intentionally, drawn over the shapes of what is a snake. And now the question is, why was it drawn using this trick? For me, there are only 3 possible answers. The first is that there are creative drawing techniques based on starting with one object, a pipe, a flower, a cross, or even something obscene just to stimulate creativity. And from there, letting the different object or scene, which is the ultimate goal of that creative process, germinate. A different object or scene that then becomes the protagonist of the painting or image, while the starting object remains there, wrapped up and hidden in its primitive, shapeless cocoon state. An initial sketch, a potential chrysalis no longer visible, buried by the final picture that has emerged. I used to know a very good painter who made a good living from his paintings. He died young from liver cirrhosis, who fruitfully spent his days with a large glass, always full of watered-down whiskey in one hand and in the other the brush he used to create his paintings, which were usually landscapes. He would start by drawing a penis in an off-center part of the canvas and from there, sketching lines and curves that chased their origins, crisscrossing other parts of the painting, and which harmoniously, almost autonomously, ended up composing the final result, the landscape or say a carriage, or a parade of masked characters or whatever it might be. So the first hypothesis is that the mascot Milo is a snake due to a simple technical creative expedient, because by starting from there, the artist could arrive at an ermine figure that was original, new, and above all beyond what he himself could have imagined or thought before starting the creative process. The second option is that the figure of a snake was put there in the drawing as a simple prank for a laugh. Because artists are always a bit snobbish towards their clients and the public, and they like to make fun of us ignoramuses for whom they must consume, poor darlings, their precious art-soaked inspiration. Then there is the third and final hypothesis, which is the one I tend to believe the most in this case. And that is that the snake symbol was really supposed to be there. It was meant to be present, to be there and to evoke, to call forth as only a symbol can do. Now, what it was meant to evoke, what message it was meant to encapsulate and project, what door it was meant to open, what light to turn on, I don't know. What grammar and syntax this symbol fits into, I do not know. I am not an initiate. Initiates who know about it don't talk about it around town, and those who do talk about it aren't initiates, so what do they know? I do see, however, that the symbol is there. A powerful and omnipresent symbol and archetype, that of the snake, which evokes, at least to me, among billions of possible evocations, the one closest to my culture. That is, it brings to mind the snake of the Old Testament, the adversary, therefore a dual element opposed to another, as is characteristic of certain heresies, not only Catholic, a dual element exactly. And indeed, there are two mascots, there are two locations, Milan and Cortina, one high up and one lower down. There are two Olympic cauldrons, and in Gnostic heresies, there are two versions of every entity or living being, a celestial one and a corresponding earthly one, an angelic one and a corresponding material one on earth, the snake crawls on the earth, and the other corresponding in heaven. If Dante Alighieri was indeed a Cathar, as illustrated by Maria Soresina, the explanation Dante offers in the Paradiso, through the mouth of his guides, also fits into this earth-sky dualism, where every man on earth corresponds to a spiritual inclination represented by his star in heaven. So, in this symbolic apparatus created for the Olympics, where someone has already glimpsed the symbol of Baphomet, or the pentacle in the particular features of the cauldron, there is also quite clearly duality in the figure of the snake standing upright on its own tail. I repeat, I do not have access to the syntax, to the grammar in which these symbols are arranged, but there is no need to know initiatory grammar or syntax to notice the presence of a symbol, the evocative power it emanates, its ability to subconsciously open doors in our unaware minds, to fray the fabric of our limited logos with drafts or gashes that, like doors or windows left unwittingly or knowingly open, can in any case let anything through, even things we didn't want, and which it would objectively be better to keep out.